right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He took on more jobs after football. You're not lying. Why? I can't not be busy, otherwise I'll go crazy. I need something to do and something to strive for. I think that's like something that I need just psychologically. And there's a lot of opportunities, and you don't know how long those opportunities are going to be there. You can sit out and still go back. I think you want to capitalize on the moment and in the momentum that's been built up. But at the same time, we are retired and I'm trying to spend more time with the family and the kids. So that's the tightrope I'm walking right now.
Well, the voice you hear and the face I'm sure everybody is familiar with is Jason Kelce. Super Bowl champion Jason Kelce, 6-time All-Pro Jason Kelce, 7-time Pro Bowler Jason Kelce, media darling Jason Kelce, smaller belly Jason Kelce, Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder. I'm Brian Clark. Welcome to the Pivot, a part of Fanatics and Pivot Fam. Thank you for pivoting with us. I mean, you kind of got into it already, Jay, and you have
What's up?
These amazing opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, they've been so far.
You've been a great football player for 11 years, a Hall of Fame level football player. But it does seem like the last 2 years of your career, there was this meteoric rise in celebrity. And now we see you everywhere. You're working. I work with you at ESPN. We're just parading you around. You're on New Toy, right? Like, you've gotten me indoors and at dinners that I've never been in. I've been there for a decade. But for you, how are you, though, handling the juggling of this new life?
I don't know. Just kind of trying to.
Oh, wow. I appreciate that. Much love from over there.
It's hard. I think,
much love. I didn't even know I reached that deep. That's crazy.
A lot of benefits. And the last 2 years have been very, it's been a very quick climb to where it's at now.
Is it like daytime where you at?
And I've always been appreciated in Philadelphia where I played. Like, I've always had, people walking around. I've always been an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I appreciate the love.
So I've always been appreciated in this city, but now it's much more on a national scale. And part of that's obviously because of the show.
Smaller market.
Travis and I. First year we started it, we both go to the Super Bowl. We're playing each other in the Super Bowl. My mom's in the Super Bowl.
It's 8 p.m.
And then obviously you continue it on, so it builds another year of momentum. My brother's love life brings another set of fan base and people interested in our lives. So it is at a higher level than it's ever been, and it's happened very quickly. And it's opened a lot of doors, like we were just talking about. Like, there's a lot of opportunities to do things. For me, I don't really try to do that much different. I try to just keep living my life, really stay grounded in my family and my kids and the things that I've been doing that have allowed me to be successful to this point. But you also try and see what is happening now and, what sounds like something that's fun and creative and cool and something you'd like to do. And you kind of roll with it as it goes.
I like to say
it's nice to hear
not
that.
Officially retired.
Thank
I like
you.
to call it career change.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that for you.
I think you're going to be great at it because you know what it takes. First and foremost, what retirement feels like is when you sit on your wallet and your hip starts to hurt.
For sure.
That's what real retirement feels like.
That's where it starts.
But you said something
That's where it starts.
You said you don't know if you can stay away long enough because you don't know if you can get back to it.
Yeah.
Are you potentially thinking about coming back? Is that a sign? Because you look good.
I feel good. I'm probably too light. Maybe if somebody wants me a tight end, I could come back.
Tight end is crazy.
I probably carried out 2 to 3 years longer than maybe. I've been thinking about this for a while. It's not like just retired on the spot. It was really hard to do the last 2 to 3 years with where my body's at mentally, and it became a point, especially this last year. It was very apparent my body is starting to shut down. Wednesday practices, we do this drill, kind of preparing for a bull rush. Because you never want to go into a game without having to stop a bull rush at least once that week in practice. That's the way I need to feel that, anchor down and feel that balance. And we always do this drill on Wednesdays, push-pull, guy grabs you by the shoulder pads, pushes you, and you have to sit down, anchor your hips without your hands. And we would do it on Wednesdays. My hips don't work on Wednesdays anymore. Like, it just doesn't happen. And I'm like, this is not good. And it got to that point, and I think the reason I was able to get 2 to 3 years out was, the league has changed a lot. I didn't have to practice a lot on Wednesdays the last 3 years, really. They would give me a lot of reps off, which is very different than earlier in the career where you're doing all the reps in practice, all the walkthrough things. They took those reps off of me and preserved me for the game, which allowed me to play at a high level and feel good still. But then now all of a sudden that's not working, and I don't feel good, and I got to do more and more, and it wears on you mentally, it wears on you physically, and that's why ultimately, I don't think I could do another one. And then also, I still ended playing at a good level. I don't want to stay longer and then get to a point where, now I'm committed to this, but I'm not the player that I enjoy playing the game. That's kind of... So, no, I don't think I'm going to come back. I just don't see that happening for multiple reasons now.
You gonna owe some folks a lot of money.
Yes.
You go back
for sure. For sure. And I'm gonna have to eat tons of cheesesteaks to get back up to the right weight.
Thinking about physically, you feel when you can't, like you said, you can't pull as fast. You
Correct.
can't lanker down and all.
It might not have been apparent watching the tape, but you as a player know. Yeah. You can feel it.
Especially on that high level.
Yeah, and you feel it when you hit somebody. It's like, man, I just don't have that pop that I had, and it had been going down, but last year I think was a significant moment where you're like, okay.
And what about the mental side though? Because you said the last couple years it took off new heights, took off, and then you had the show on Prime Video and all that.
Yeah.
Mentally, did that give you any kind of solace in knowing that, okay, there's something after football, because you played it since you were a kid. Your whole family, you're a football family.
Yeah.
The mental side of retirement.
Well, I do think, listen, anybody that has options outside of football it's going to be an easier decision to retire. Like Brandon Brooks, really good friend of mine, outstanding player, retired probably when he could have kept going, but he really knew that he wanted to, go into grad school, go into Wharton, and go into the finance sector. Now, he had a very clear vision of what he wanted to do at football, and I think that made the decision easier. Now, I still think he retired because he was done playing football, but that does make the decision easier. But I don't think, I've really tried to limit it to, I know that once the football decision retire is done, it's done. The podcast stuff is, the opportunities that are there are beneficial, and it does make it easier, but I don't think that I retired because that's there, if that makes sense. I think I retired just because more because of the football stuff.
You don't want the big basses.
Pretty much. I'm tired of wrestling motherfuckers every single day. I'm tired.
You wrestle now with your family.
Yeah.
You mentioned being able to spend more time. I have a question, bro. You're a handsome guy. You were voted one of the sexiest men on the planet.
That was more like a joke.
At one time. So it couldn't have been hard to date. You were in the NFL. I mean, you have that going for you. Bro, why the hell was you on Tinder?
It was fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm young, I'm single. You're just having fun. I don't know, I lived in the city. I can go out all the time. I mean, when you're young, you can go out. I can go to practice after being out till 2, 3 in the morning and function just fine. So
I think that no longer lasts either. That's not a thing anymore.
I remember. Yeah, I definitely can't do that. And then I remember Brent Selleck telling me one time, he's like, man, I feel like crap. I drank this milkshake last night. And I'm like, yeah, it's not the football that makes you feel like crap. It's the milkshake. What are you talking about, bro? And then I ate some ice cream and then went out to practice the next day. I was like, oh, shit. Mike Selleck was on to something. I feel terrible today. So you find out that, eventually you can't just eat and do whatever you want. But early in your career, you can. And I lived down in the city of Philadelphia, Old City. And I'd walk around, go to different bars, restaurants, and swipe Tinder and try and have fun. And it didn't last long because I met my wife, and then that was that.
But you met your wife on Tinder, and you fumbled the date. One of the best centers
For sure.
in the history of the game falls to sleep on a woman of his dreams, a woman that he thought was so captivating.
Yes.
He called for a second date.
Yeah.
How did you fall asleep on the date, and what was the call like? Say, boo, you know, like, I know we swiped on each other, and you came to meet me and the homies.
Yeah.
I poured up a little bit, but I would love to do it again.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, so we met up after the Eagles holiday party from that year. So Jeffrey Lurie throws a Christmas party, holiday party every year, and we had already been tuned up from that party. So we were going to the billiard spot, Buffalo Billiards in Old City, afterwards. It's like just hang out and have fun. So we met up after all that. So I think she understood that this was something that was set in place long before we were even going to meet up and all this stuff was going to happen. So we agreed to go on a second date, and I was captivated with her though. And I don't like. I feel like if she wouldn't have been at Buffalo Billiards, maybe I wouldn't have remembered Buffalo Billiards at all. But somehow, something I snapped out of it, and I still remember that moment. Still, of her walking through that door. I don't remember a lot from that night, but I remember that. And then apparently Bo Allen had to carry me home. But yeah, it was not the best first impression.
I'm just saying this. I know Bo.
Yeah.
If Bo has to carry you, you're in bad shape,
For
bro.
sure. And I think he said I was fighting him every step of the way. Like, I was just like making it harder and harder for him, and he was dropping me, and so.
I don't know how a Tinder works.
Sure.
But you were just swiping. Why was that swipe different than the other swipes?
Well, the first swipe, she was the most beautiful person I ever seen on the app, so that's why it was different right away. But then you start messaging, and you start talking, and you're vibing, and you're like, oh, this girl's really cool. And then you meet in person the first night, not a lot of discussion, right? I'm in bad shape. But then you keep, we went out on a second date, went ice skating, and then we just kept hanging out, and the more you talk in person, the more you really realize that there's a lot of like common values and principles and the things that we both want out of life are matching up, and that's when it really starts to be like, okay, I think she's really, really different, not just the other stuff.
Do you open at some point with your shirtless body? Because I've seen you more without a shirt on than I ever wanted to in my life. You seem like you like to take your shirt off.
Yeah, I mean, I might have been shirtless the first night. I don't remember, but there's a decent chance.
What is it, Bob's Billiards?
Yeah, Buffalo Billiards. I don't know that they would let me with the shirt off there, but yeah, I don't know at what point the shirt came off. I know. I don't even know if I should. I know I've I embarrassed myself the second day too, because we're going ice skating, and I'm tying my skates, and the moment I sit down, a fart squeaks out.
No.
Yeah, not good, guys. And luckily she laughed at that. And I was like, okay.
Squeezed out.
And it ain't like that happens all the time. Like, I'm not like a repetitive farter or whatever. I don't know, but it was so embarrassing that she laughed. I was like, all right, we'll be fine. She can laugh at that. We'll be good.
I think that's a really dope story, man. All of us in the NFL, right? We all have moments in our lives where we go hard. Like when we're out partying and just having a good time, probably doing stuff excessively, as you mentioned, try to get to practice and make it through.
Yeah.
But we always find that one person that sort of helps us slow down and changes it. We're all girl dads, right? So my daughter, she melted my heart, and that was the one thing that slowed me down.
Absolutely.
Right? Your wife, how did she make you better?
My wife, first of all, everything you just said, like when you're on your own, everything you do, not everything, but a lot of what you do is just intrinsically what you want, and it's very much a lifestyle, and you're going out and doing things that give you joy and give you satisfaction and give you purpose and entertainment. What my wife did for me, and I think sports does this too, but nothing does it like a spouse, is ultimately, everything that you're doing comes under the lens of us both. And what am I doing to fulfill her? And what am I doing to make her happy and to give her entertainment? So the moment, what she's done for me is really caused me to look outside myself and to really focus on that aspect. On how can I, get the most. What's the purpose of life, and what's the purpose of a marriage? And I don't think it happens like consciously. Like, I think you should look back and it's like, man, I'm like such a different person now than I was before I met Kylie. And that magnifies when you have children, because children are even. They would die if you weren't there. They'll just walk out and drown. My daughter would drown in the pool if I wasn't sitting there with her. Like, she just walks in. Like, I'm like, you can't swim. Why are you walking in the pool? I think that's the number one thing. She's made me a more compassionate, a more empathetic, a better person, just in general. And that's carried over to everything else.
You are not a meathead. And I say that because all of your pictures in every program, or your pictures for each year, your headshots, it's like meathead pictures. It's like a progression of meatheadedness, right? Yeah. But listening to you, there's so much depth, and I think that is, to me, one of the coolest parts of New Heights. It was you. Dude, you're defensive MVP in high school. You don't get a scholarship. You change positions. You're the 30th O lineman drafted. You tear your ACL, I think, in 13. It seems like this total pageantry all the way to being named the king for your life, but it really wasn't that.
Yeah.
When you were in some of those situations, some of the adverse situations, what were the things you leaned on to get through those and continue to be, at least outwardly, would always seem like a positive, upbeat dude?
Well, I think I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by really good people, and I've been very fortunate to be surrounded by people that believe in me, even when circumstances and adversity and things make you start to question that. In the NFL, I had Jeff Stoutland. When I had a really bad year in 2016, and I've talked about this openly in my retirement speech before, it was a rough year for me. And I didn't know if I'd be back in Philly. I didn't know what was going to happen. And the one guy that really believed that I could fix it was Stout. So that helps reinforce in my head, all right, at least this guy believes in me. And if he's believing in me, he's an expert offensive line coach. He knows something. And I think I was very fortunate to have people that believed in me my whole life. I had Stout in the NFL. I had Paul Longo in college. I had Howard Mudd when I first got to the NFL, when I was an undersized guy who had coached Jeff Saturday. I had my mother and father growing up. I had high school coaches, a band teacher, Brett Baker. It might seem stupid, but the jazz ensemble in Cleveland Heights was a big deal, at least for the band kids. And we would tour during spring break and battle other jazz bands. And I'm a freshman. They don't let freshmen into the jazz ensemble, but Mr. Baker asked me to be in the jazz ensemble, right? So it's a confidence builder, right? So I always had people that for some reason had faith and belief in me. There's always been people that have also doubted me. And this is something that Jim Schwartz told me, is the best predictor of success in the NFL is guys that are very self-aware. So if you think you're the best thing ever and you're not, you ain't gonna pan out. If they think you're terrible, you're not terrible, you're not gonna pan out. It's the guys that really know who they are and how good they are, where they're weak at, what they need to do to get better. And I think that I have always been able to block out stuff that I think doesn't offer any type of benefit to listen to. Or hey, I hear that. It's that guy's got a point. Maybe if I do this differently, I can correct that. Or I think I'm very good at navigating that noise, and that's helped me progress through the adversity through the years. I've been very self-aware throughout my career.
Just coming up to RC's point, you were running back and linebacker.
Yeah.
Walk on to Cincinnati.
Yes.
Transition to O-line. Was it strategic?
No.
Was it God? You just started getting fatter?
No, Paul Longo. It was strategic by Paul Longo. So I got very fortunate. I committed to Cincinnati under Mark D'Antonio. Mark D'Antonio, first year, and I was a walk-on linebacker. played for Pat Narduzzi, who's now in Pittsburgh, I think, still. And they called me Dick Butkus that year because I was like an old school. I couldn't fucking cover a pass to save my life. I'm just like, where's my gap? I'm going to hit this thing like a missile. Starting center screaming like, Kels, I got a stinger. I'm like, I don't care. Started running back in like a scout team drill. Like, that's not supposed to happen. I'm just being ridiculous. But, so Mark leaves, goes to Michigan State, and we hire Coach Brian Kelly, who comes in, and they want to run a different offense. They want to run a more spread, you know, you smaller offensive line, zone-based. Before, it was all these big guys in power football. The strength coach he brought with him, Paul, had been a strength coach in Iowa, had been a strength coach in Central Michigan, and he loved project guys. He loved taking guys that were like borderline athletic at this position they were at and making them like a standout athleticism guy at a different position. And he was very good at transforming guys. He did it with Joe Staley in San Francisco. Same strength coach moved him. And I had never thought I was going to play offensive line, and I'm just sitting there doing a winter workout, trying to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
And Paul says, you know, I think you make a good center. And I'm like, ha, and I kind of laugh at him. I'm like, ha, like, what are you listening to me talking about? Like, I'm not playing center. There's no chance. Like, I'm 230 pounds. What am I doing? I'm going to play center? And that spring, man, I played like 4 days at linebacker. And of course, it's before you put the pads on, so I'm not looking good in the. It's a lot of pass-heavy offense. The early days, yeah. 7-on-7's not going. I'm tackling running backs and like one-on-ones just so they can't make it. Like it's like that's pass interference, Jason. I'm like, all right, I got it. So they moved me, and I played pretty well. I was mad that they told me that like 3 days in. I'm like, dude, because I had put some weight on my freshman year. I was like 250 at one point over the winter. Because I'm not playing, I'm just drinking and eating a bunch of food. Lost a bunch of weight, went back down to 230. And then like, hey, we're moving to Sunday. I was like, why couldn't you guys have told me this before I lost all this weight? But I do well that spring. They say they want to keep me at center. And I don't remember if I told this to Brian Kelly or Jeff Quinn, the offensive line coach. But they said, you know, we want to keep you at center. I'm like, well, guys, I'm not going to just stay here, put on 60 pounds for free. Like, I'll just go walk on somewhere else. So they said, well, we'll give you a scholarship the next year. We can't do it this year because we have to wait until the next semester. We're all booked up on scholarships. So this semester we'll give you one. The next semester if you agree to move. So
what is it about the sixth round of the draft? I mean,
Tom Brady,
Antonio Brown, yourself, Tom Brady, Terrell Davis,
TD sixth round,
Hall of Famer, and we don't know what AB is going to do, but he's definitely a Hall of Fame caliber player. What is it about the sixth round? How was the moments up to the draft and going through that entire process?
Yeah, I didn't know where I was going to get picked. You know, I guess to rewind, I was an undersized guy. I was already undersized, so I knew I was already eliminated from a number of teams' draft boards, probably just on the style of player it was. And to make matters worse, at the combine, I got appendicitis. I thought it was a stomach flu at the time, but it was actually appendicitis. So I'm literally in that big room in the railroad or whatever with the train in there. I'm going meeting with coaches straight to the bathroom to puke or go out the other end. Seriously. Like and I'm like, dude, what is happening? And I go out, for some reason I eat sushi. All comes up. Like, I'm like, I wasn't very smart back then. So I weigh in at 280 pounds. And I'm like, dude, I might have just lost getting drafted. And the next day, thankfully, I feel a little bit better. And it stopped coming out of both ends. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to run. I'm going to do it. Because this is the only way I'm going to salvage anything from this experience is at least go show them that I'm more athletic than all these guys. So I got out there, run well. Still not, I think I could have got better on my 40, but I do well. It's a good combine performance. And then 4 days after that, or that next week, started happening again. This time I go to the emergency room, and they're like, we got to do an emergency appendectomy. You got a perforated appendix, and we got to take that out. So I didn't know what was going to happen in the draft. Like initially, before all that, I'm like, man, I think I can go like 4th round. Like I see where the other centers are. You know, I'm not going to go above Rodney Hudson and the bigger name guys, but I could sneak up into like 3rd or 4th round. But after that experience, I'm like, I'm just kind of hoping I get drafted at this point. Like I don't. Like, it's a big question mark. And first day goes by, you're not even. You're still watching. You're like, maybe some, no chance. Second day, get through the 3rd round, and I'm like, all right, we're hoping. And then as the rounds start going by, you get to the 6th. And, I mean, I really might not get drafted. I don't know. Like, the Chiefs were one of the teams that were interested in me, and they drafted Rodney Hudson early. St. Louis, I don't know if they were the only other team besides the Eagles. Those are the 3, like, official visits I had. So those are the 3 teams where I'm like, if I'm going to go somewhere, it's going to be here. The only other team that did anything with me is New England worked me out as a fullback. Yeah. I'm watching the draft, and I see that the Eagles got 2 picks back-to-back, and they had already taken 2 linemen. So I'm like, it might not work out for the Eagles. Like, how many interior linemen are they going to draft this year? Luckily, I get a call from 215, and it's Andy Reid, and, right away, he's telling me, hey, we got this next pick. We're going to pick you at this 191. Has anything happened to you? You hurt? You getting any injuries or car accidents? I'm like, no, coach, I'm good. Everything's fine. And he starts telling me who he's going to hand the face. I'm going to hand the phone to the general manager, Howie Roseman. Then I'm going to hand it to the offensive coordinator, Marty Morningwig. Then I'm going to hand it to the O-line coach, Howard Mudd. And he's like, you got that? I was like, yeah, I got that. He's like, all right, what did I just say? And I'm like, coach, I don't know. Because everything's processed is so crazy. Your dad's crying in front of you because now it's been announced at this point. Right. And I'm trying to process all this stuff. And Andy said, well, you're going to have to do better. There's going to be like 70,000 people staring at you on game day. You got to keep your composure. I'm like, he's already tested me. But, so that was drafted.
Yeah, it's so much there that I can use to follow up. The one thing jumped out was the sushi.
Yeah.
It brings me to an episode of New Heights that I was watching when you talked about the hot dog is in the
Thank you,
You
Diversion.
were very passionate
Appreciate you.
in breaking down why a hot dog is necessary. Because I would take you more for a hot dog person than a burger person, not sushi, Jason.
Now listen, I like all 3. I like food in general. I'll get down with all of it. I'll eat. I've eaten caviar and bull testicles. So I go in a far range of what I've consumed.
Hold on, bull.
So I own 20 cows in southeast Missouri, Cabo County, and we have like a castration day at the farm, right? So I go down there and I'm going to castrate my own animals because that's my job, which is an experience in itself. And they had a fire going, and they're starting to put the testicles on the fire.
No way.
And, I mean, I had to try one.
I mean, you actually didn't have to try them.
You're right.
Yeah, that's like, and that's all too, though, man. Like, that's your animal. That's like naming your cow like Meatball.
Yeah.
Because eventually.
Yeah, we named one of them Kale. Yeah. Because we thought that's a funny juxtaposition. We're eating kale here.
Fanatic Sportsbook's $5 million jersey drop. Jerseys are dropping every single day. Just log in daily for your chance to win. It's time to suit up for season opener. This is Fanatic Sportsbook, the most rewarding sportsbook.
When we walked in today, Bill Belichick is outside. And I'm always fascinated when greats get around each other. Obviously, many feel the greatest coach to have ever coached in the NFL, and the accomplishments say so.
Yeah.
He says, every game we played against the Philadelphia Eagles, we game planned for you.
Yeah.
I told the coaches, make sure we have somebody right in front of him at the nose. If he tries to pull, I want you to grab it. To hear the greatest coach of all time say, amongst all the players on the Philadelphia Eagles, the number one priority in the game plan was stopping Jason Kelce. How does that feel?
It feels good. No, I mean, I think, to know that you're affecting the opposing team's game plan knows that you're an integral piece of what's making your offense successful. And I don't know if that's, I don't know how many offensive linemen were game plan like that. I don't know. Zero?
Zero.
Maybe. But, I mean, listen, that speaks to, one, I had a great strength there. I also, blocking the head up, big nose guard probably wasn't my strength, especially if it was a man up, mano a mano, straight ahead block.
Well.
Vince, And I used to tell Stout, I mean, can I still pull if he's head up? He's like, the guard can still go get him. Let me get out of here. I'm the better man. We got Landon Davis. He's 360. Let him block this guy. Let me go get this linebacker right here. But no, it feels really, really good to know that you're respected in that way, or that you're a perceived player of that caliber, that you're one of the keys to stopping something the other team's doing.
Okay, like, you mentioned in 2016.
Yeah.
You had already been to a Pro Bowl by then.
Yes.
I think you went, 14?
I went in 2014.
Yeah, you went 2014.
And I actually went, it's not the kind of, this is the way the Pro Bowl works too, Like my year, I probably should have gone 2013. I was really good that year. 2014, I was okay, but I think I probably got into the year before. 2016, I got into the Pro Bowl, and it was probably my worst season in the NFL.
What was it about that season that made it so tough? You said you didn't play well, but it was Stout that believed in you, that helped you sort of come out of that. What was it about that season that was different from all the rest when, to at least public perception, and when I cut the film on, was stellar play at the position?
I think there's a few factors. One, we were going out of the no-huddle Chip Kelly era, and we were going back to a huddle offense with Doug Peterson. And when you're in no-huddle, it neutralizes a lot of the power that D-linemen play with, right? So you're less worried about that. And I think over 3 years of doing that type of offense had just developed, quite frankly, bad technique, because I didn't have to deal with bull rush. Like, when you're going on the ball over and over and over again, a D-lineman ain't bull rushing you. He's going to try and work an edge, and so you do different techniques, and I'm playing high with wide hands because it works for a guy trying to get on your edge, but it's not good for somebody coming right down the middle of you. So I think that was part of it. I think, too, it was just a different offense. It was a different system that I hadn't really ironed out yet. I had a lot of holding calls, in part because I was too out in front of the running back, so a linebacker could undercut me, right? And then when he undercuts me, I reach back, and that's a holding call, right? We're doing more runs out of gun, so all of a sudden, with where the back's at, I can't go as far in this nose because I can overreach him. And then if I overreach him, then I'm holding. When the back's in dot right under center, it's hard to overreach somebody. Like, he's already past that guy if he tries to back to you. So a lot of those things crept up. And I think also I was just getting back into a heavier, stronger player that is needed in more of a traditional huddling offense.
How much doubt did you have that you could get back to the play that sort of set you up to be a Pro Bowler after trying to adjust to all those things? Was there ever a moment in your head you was like, man, I was a 6th-round draft pick. I had to torn my ACL. I am undersized.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks I was like, what is this? So it's really, I say the 2016 season, really the only games I'm upset with from that season are the first 2. We got things fixed relatively quickly, but as you know, if you start off with a narrative and you struggle, it's going to be bad. We played the Browns early on. Danny Shelton beat the crap out of me. I was playing with hands out here. I'm high. I'm not. The technique was atrocious when I go back and watch it. I'm like, what the heck was I doing? Seriously, I'm like, why? I'm playing a guy who outweighs me, and I'm letting him have my chest and get lower than me. There's no strategy that works, right? Then we played the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, ran through the field.
Akeem Hicks spikes long sticks one time, sends me back. I can't grab the ground. I still think I wore the wrong cleats. And after those 2 weeks, I get out of those cleats. When you're in that mode, you're like, bro, I got to fix these cleats. I changed my helmet. I changed my helmet because I'm like, man, this one's a little bit closer to my face. Maybe if I get out here. So I'm doing all of it, right? You're throwing everything there.
It had nothing to do with you. It was like,
But Stout is like, dude, we're working all those 2 weeks. After that, we really started focus on, get your hands underneath, get them inside, proper footwork, be in a position to strike with power, all this stuff. So we're doing all this stuff. And we played the Steelers the next week. And I actually think I played fucking really good against the Steelers. I think I'm balling. And I look at the grade, you look at the grade afterwards, now the PFF style, and you're like, man, I thought I played great. These guys are saying I'm still shitty. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But after those 2 weeks, and then after that Steelers game, I settled into the new offense a lot better. I was utilizing better technique. And then with a full off season of doing that and continuing that with style, it took off the following season.
And being obviously Hall of Fame offensive lineman, right? And I tell people always ask me about transition to the league. What's the difference? They want me to bring up a receiver or a running back.
Yeah.
I bring up Jonathan Ogden and Steve Hutchinson and Will Shields and them linemen that do it. Do y'all have the same impact on the organization like those skill positions do? Would they come to you? You're the team leader. You're an all-pro right now.
Yeah.
Would they come to you and ask you for your input on drafting, on signing free agents, on different things?
All of it. Drafting, they'll limit, like for me, Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens, and they'll, like Stout will talk to me all the time in the off season. I'm in here year round. I lift at the facility, so I'll pop up and, hey man, check this guy out. Look at this guy. What do you think? Like, he reminds me of this guy, or this guy. This tackle reminds me of Jason Peters. Like, look at the way he moves. And so I love looking at stuff like that. Game plan wise, I'm always talking to Stout or the offensive coordinator or the head coach about, what's in that I like, what's in that I don't like. And you do it in the right way, because there's going to be stuff that's in the game plan that you might not like, but you got to do it because it's part of the game plan. So you're always figuring all that out each week. So I had probably more influence on all that stuff, especially later in my career, than anybody else in the building. Outside of Jalen Hurts, quarterback always has the most say. And that stuff's all fun. I love doing that. At the end of the day, though, it's these other guys are the decision makers, right?
Jay, I'm over here in the corner. I know RC called you handsome earlier, but I'm checking out your eyebrows. I'm a little jealous. Mine isn't that.
What's good, Woody?
As yours.
Okay.
You and Travis got some really nice eyebrows.
Thick eyebrows. Yep.
You got some really nice eyebrows. How are you two most alike, and also how are you most different?
Yeah. Well, I think we're probably different in, I guess, fashion sense and I think style, pop culture, things like that, we're a little bit different. But I think in most of the values that we uphold, like what we think is funny, what we appreciate in people, how we try to connect with guys, the teammates we are, I think all that stuff is very, very similar. So I remember talking to Nathan Jenkins one time in the locker room, and I think I'm talking like shoes or whatever. I'm like, I don't get why people were like infatuated with shoes. My brother loves shoes. I mean, you go to his closet, it's like this ceiling, boxes there at the top, right? I just don't get it. Like, you're just walking on them. Like, what is the infatuation with them? And I was like, hey man, everybody likes what they like. And I'm like, you know what? I guess that's all you really got to think. People like what they like for whatever reason. And I think the materialism that we kind of differ in, really, when you get down to the grassroots of like who we are as people, we're actually very similar. We might be a little bit different in the way we think. My brother thinks more like an artist, which might be why he's more into the fancier fashion and shoes, and like he's into the style, dance, and all of that. And I think of things probably a little bit more analytically by nature. So I think that also probably has a transition in what we like. But I think it's who we are as people and what we value and how we talk to people and connect with them and family, all that stuff is very similar.
What's your most proud Big Brother moment?
My most proud Big Brother moment. There's been a lot of them. It's been really good.
I do have a question while you're thinking about that.
Sure.
What was more emotional for you, your draft day, when you got the call, or Trav's?
I think it's more emotional watching. Well, it's just different. It's hard. It's a different emotion.
What was the difference between the
Well, when you
emotions?
get drafted, it's very selfishly gratifying. It's like, I fucking did it. Like, I'm in the NFL. I've been wanting to be there all along. And your dreams are realized the moment that you're drafted. And you kind of know leading up to it it's going to happen. But it don't change the fact that the moment it happens, it all hits like a lightning bolt right into you. When you're watching your brother do it, it's a much more outwardly perspective, like happiness for him, right? So, one is an intense gratification selfishly, and the other one is an immense gratification for someone that you love and care about achieving their dreams. And it's a similar emotion, but it's different, and I guess in the way you process it. Draft day was one of them for Trav. Back to your question, Fred. Like, he had been through a lot in college, and he was we all are. He was a very immature kid when he took over and got there. And to see how he had grown and persevered and got to that moment, I was very, very happy and proud for him.
This TJ Watt, yes, sir.
And that was, he was kicked out of the university at one point. He was kicked off the football team. He's in a wooden bat league because he doesn't know if he's ever going to play football again. And for that to transpire and for him to work to get back in the good graces of people and to rededicate himself in a better way.
Appreciate it.
That was a big moment where I was
Appreciate
very,
the love.
very proud of him for writing that ship. Because, you guys all know some guys, it doesn't work like that. They don't write it. And they have the talent. It's crazy. Like, there's more guys on my high school team that probably have more talent than me. I can think of, and I don't want to name names, you know what I mean? But there's guys that are more talented than me, and decisions and stuff like that, it just didn't pan out for them. But they had the tools, they were good, and that happened in high school and in college, and in the NFL.
And speaking about your brother, and you talk about the differences, you were a Tinder guy. He was a reality show.
I don't know if he did Tinder or not.
You know what I mean? You've been married. He dates pretty famously, right? Because people like the person that he dates. It's also changed. It's changed both of your lives. Like you mentioned, the 2 years of New Heights, the perfect storm of two brothers play each other, this amazing family background, and we all get to watch it unfold at the Super Bowl. And then the next year, it's no matter who the Kansas City Chiefs are playing, there's going to be a lot of attention on the suite.
Yeah.
A lot of those suites, down the stretch of the playoffs, you're in, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those pictures and venues now, when Taylor Swift sells out arenas, you're there. How has that microscope sort of made you think and have to deal with moving differently than you have before? Because you are such an authentic person.
Yeah, I still try to be that authentic person. I think that's important for me. I don't want to go out there and, if I'm not being who I am and my natural person, I'm not going to be happy with myself. It makes it difficult because everything you do is under a microscope. And everything you say is under a microscope. And people in the day and age that we live are going to tweak things in any way you say it. They're going to find a context to make it controversial, to get clicks, and to do whatever with it. So you just know, and you have to be conscious of that. And, to a certain extent, there's no way to prevent all of it. Because the microscope is there, and because the attention is there, and because of the nature of what social media is, you got to be careful a lot of the times in how you word things, which is unfortunate, but a natural thing with it. And that's the way, you know that you navigate that as a player. When you're talking to the media, you're finding a way to say this in a way that is respectful to everybody, and you want to come across in the right way. And now that kind of mentality, you're trying to be authentic, but you also want to make sure that it's received in the way you're trying to communicate it, not in the way somebody else wants to write an article about it.
Jason, I don't have a brother. I have two sisters.
Sure.
But I know my homeboys back when you were dating, you call, hey man, I got a bad one.
Yeah.
When Trav hit you and said, hey, big bro, I got a bad one. Oh,
yeah.
What's her name?
Yeah, exactly.
Taylor. Who? Shit. That conversation happened?
Well, there was a lead up to it because there was the whole thing on the pod about him trying to get a friendship bracelet to her, so I knew that there was something.
Yeah.
But I think he was very cautious about even telling me or anybody because, the reality is she is under such a microscope that, I think that they wanted to make sure everything was done in a way that, was respectful to people's privacy. And I think they're still trying to do that. And, even now, I want to be respectful of them. And I don't want anybody to feel like there's, a perceived, I'm violating some type of private relationship, right? It's really not my place to speak on the relationship. But he is my brother, and I'm very happy for him. And, you just have to be conscious of how you're saying things because it is under such a microscope.
And did the business, the relationship, we all know, the relationship stuff was going on and the blowing up, the 2 years you spoke about, both of you spoke about. Is it affecting the brotherly relationship, or is it? I'm gonna say negatively, but just is it changing it?
Well, not that aspect of it. I think the thing whenever
What's
you're
up,
a business
Vanna?
family,
If you still
right,
in
it's
here.
a dynamic, right? And now that it is such a big business, the podcast and everything.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that is
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Hey, man signed a podcast deal out the gate that gave him more money than he made being a Hall of Fame player.
Okay, we're allowed to bring it up then.
Talking
Okay,
to my brother in talking with my brother in my basement. But just natures of that have caused a relationship shift we never had that before. But thankfully, personally, Travis and I value who we are as brothers more than any of that. So at the end of the day, like all that other stuff falls under like who we are as people and who we are as brothers. And certainly his love life, his family life, and who he cares about falls above the business side of what we're doing. So like I think when the priority is that, the other stuff that you have to navigate is essentially business partners. It comes with the right frame with it.
I have some fun questions because that got heavy, right?
Sorry.
So here we go. Here's my. Who do we hate more? Which Patrick is worse?
Okay.
Dempsey or Mahomes? One sexiest man of the year when
Yeah.
you were nominated. The other won the Super Bowl you lost.
I mean, this is I had zero hatred for either of them. So I guess which person do I love more? And I would say unquestionably, I don't know Patrick Dempsey, so I'm going to go Pat Mahomes.
What is it like though, man? Because obviously he and your brother are extremely close, and it's rare to have a brother that's in the league, but
Yeah.
that relationship now having other people that are parts of his life become close to you as well. I think you are a great player,
Yeah.
right? I never got to know you.
Sure.
Right, and what I love about the job I do now is I'm going to sit next to Jason Kelsey, and I'm going to get to know Jason Kelsey, and all the things I admired about him, I'm going to get to learn and connect to him in a different way.
Yes.
Right, a lot of times when you get an opportunity to do that, the player is done. Right, the player, for me, it's over. I don't have that rivalry, but I also don't get to enjoy it real time.
Yes.
Whereas for you, you got to know Patrick, not that you're friends, but you got to know him. But getting an opportunity, like even in this playoffs, when you're stepping away from it and you're getting to see that sort of greatness from somebody who you've now got to have a personal relationship like.
Yes.
In seeing him and watching him, what do you feel is special about Patrick Mahomes?
Well, in watching him, what I think is special about him is a lot of things. But I think when I think of quarterbacks, usually there's two buckets. There's like the analytical, like very organized quarterback that's checking plays, fixing protections, and the Peyton Manning before the snap type quarterback that has had a lot of stuff. Then there's the very instinctual, off the cuff player that can just go at any second. And I played with Michael Vick early on in my career, and he's a guy that I would say represents that about as good as anybody. It's really rare to find a guy that can operate in both those realms. Because usually, if you're an analytical thinker, you think in terms of structure. And if you're an instinctual player, structure prevents you from being instinctual. What is so good about Pat, and
That's why it's cool that we got Chime.com. If you're going to have an overdraft, there's Spot Me. Fee-free overdraft up to $200. And if I want that direct deposit to hit a little early, I can get it 2 days before it's supposed to hit. But Chan, I already know your favorite feature.
So I got an overdraft. Now I got to pay a penalty. Chime don't want to take your money. They are a financial institution that wants to help out the community. That's why I love them. And then with Spot Me, your friends, they can watch out for you. Chime has spotted people over $20 billion. They want you to be financially successful.
I like what both of y'all said, but what I like the most is no fees. No monthly fees, no overdraft fees, no foreign transaction fees, and over 60,000 ATMs that are fee-free. Chime, no fees? Come on, man. You can't beat that.
And you can join millions of Chime members who are already working to be financially responsible. Live it up and progress towards your financial goals with Chime. All you got to do is go to chime.com/pivot and sign up for your account. And that's when the big bucks start rolling in. Or at least your friends can help you out.
Open your account in minutes at chime.com/pivot. Chime feels like progress.
Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details.
You brought up Andy. I was going to ask that because you were Andy in Philly.
I was.
And Andy's one of them dudes playing defense that you knew he's going to show something every game you haven't seen before.
Correct.
And you just walk. Why is there 3 tight ends out here?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. But speaking of Andy, I don't think he got the respect he deserved in Philly and all that stuff. Like now people are talking about Andy with Patton the Super Bowls on this side.
Yeah.
But how good is Andy Reid? And when you watch the offense now, even being on other teams, do you remember the, oh yeah, I know this package.
When I watch, as you know, the team, the offenses evolve, right? They change continually. Like my brother and I were just talking about the behind the back pass, right? We're talking about this week on the podcast, and I thought it was a naked in real time watching. I wasn't paying attention to the line and everything else. I just thought he was doing like a side mirror, like sometimes the tight end will come down, boom, quarterback rolls out. He's kind of that safety package back inside, and we're sitting there. He's like, no, this was. And he doesn't even have to say it. I watch it happen, and I know what play it was. Because we used to run the same thing with Doug, which is an inside zone read play with a rub route, and the tight end goes in the flat. So I know what he's supposed to run. It's short yardage. They're hoping it's man coverage. And Travis is going to get the ball in the flat off the rub route. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So now he was doing completely the wrong thing.
So it really was out of spite.
It was just off the cuff, and I think Pat was like, man, what's this dude doing over there? But he didn't. I mean, that's who he wanted to probably throw the ball to in the flat. Yeah, I would think. But so yeah, I see some plays. I'm like, oh, okay, that's that play. That's what we used to do here. And nowadays, so much of the offenses and defenses, like everybody kind of runs multiple systems now. Everybody's trying to steal from what has made the Shanahan offense go. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to steal with Andy's. It's a copycat league, and it, 4 down. 5 down or 3 down, like everybody finds a way to get to that spacing and that structure, right? It might come, like they might build a bear front with blitzing a nickel and spiking an end down on the guard and the nose going head up. Well, that's a bear front. They might find a way to line up in a 4 down and get to a 4-4 with the safety. You know what I mean? Like I think they're finding ways to get to the spacing. And in different personnel packages, and everybody kind of steals from everybody.
You have a Russell Crowe, beautiful mind sort of thing going on.
Do I?
Yeah, like when you talk about he's like, and get the guy stacked here, but if you're in the queue and the back's in the queue, like the way you think about things, I think it's part of what makes you such a great communicator, but it's also what makes you complex.
Yeah.
First time we actually got to spend some time together, you're drawing on a piece of paper. You're like, yeah, you can have the orchestra here, and if the orchestra's here, then you can have this, and he can play this song. And you pull your phone out, and you're like, yeah, this is the song I want him to play.
Yeah.
Like you talked about your analytical brain, and then Travis's sort of artistic brain, but I think you sort of have both, right? Mm-hmm. What is the thing now? You said you need to wake up and have a goal, or you need to wake up with something to accomplish. Football is very clear what we're working to accomplish, and then the accolades come outside of that. Mm-hmm. What is Jason Kelsey waking up now to accomplish in retirement?
I'm trying to continue to be the best at whatever I'm doing and be better than I was the day before, whether it's podcasting, whether it's Monday Night Football, which hopefully we do a good job of that. And then, I am always thinking of different ideas and creative things that sound fun and writing them down in my notes, trying to be the best father I can be. So I try to kind of, it's all over the place now. That's the one thing that's crazy. Like with football, you realize once it's done, the structure and the constraint that it gives you. Like, bro, I just had to go to the facilities, work out. Food's there, the film's ready to go, like it is all done. Now, because it's so decentralized and everything is all over the place, it's you have to do all the organization and trying to get it all squared away, and that is not a skill
how
set.
are you handling it?
I'm not good at that. I've never been good at that. Luckily, my wife is good at that, and I have an assistant, Emily. Shout out Emily, that's very good at that.
Thank you, Emily,
Yes.
for getting here.
And I think for that, I'm still getting used to that. But you put what the most important things are. So husband and father first. The podcast is a big piece. Monday Night Football is a big piece. And then, what else do I want to do? Do I want to help, with Stout in any type of capacity that I can? Do I want to, be there for the guys in the line if they have any questions? So you're trying to figure out, I guess, which ones are the most important, which ones you want to do, and how can I improve at each one of these?
Would this improve your rank in the NFL sibling duo? Let's rank them. Your guys finished second on my list.
Yeah.
In the siblings. Peyton Manning and Eli.
I think it's fair.
I had at one.
Quarterbacks.
Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce
That's still strong.
were
Second is
two.
strong.
I had Watts. I had the Watts.
The Watts got to be up there.
I had the Watts at 3.
But Shannon and Sterling.
There were 4 for me. And a sneaky one for me at 5 was the Barbers.
Barbers.
Rhonda and Tiki. They're also twins, and I feel like that helps you be at a higher place on the list. If you had to do the siblings,
Yeah, that's fair.
if you had to do the
Not only
siblings,
siblings, they look very similar. Yes.
they
Yeah.
much more similar than you and Travis.
Fair enough.
If you had to do the sibling top 5 in the NFL, what
All
would it
time?
be? All time. Yeah, Matthews.
I would probably put Peyton and Eli as one.
Okay.
I mean, they both, just from a hardware standpoint, and Super Bowls, and let's face it, it's the quarterback position. There's a reason that they're paid the highest. That is the hardest position to play.
You guys are tied, by the way, in total.
Yeah, I mean, I won one, though. And, you know what I mean? We're getting a heavy helping here from Trav. And neither of us have MVP awards or any of that. I think after them, I think it's hard. I don't like rating myself in these ratings, so I'm probably going to abstain from putting Travis and I on there. After Peyton and Eli, I'd probably go Shannon and Sterling.
Okay, that's 2.
After them, I'd probably go the Watt brothers, and the Watt brothers could very easily be number 2 very soon. I mean, TJ's been so dominant. He's just not hasn't had the career length yet. But I mean, and maybe they should be too, because they're right up there, starting to have a short career too. All right. Either way, 2 and 3 of them. 4, I might just go like the Matthews family.
Yep.
Because you got Clay
Bruce,
Sr., Clay Jr., then you got, oh my gosh,
Bruce.
Thank you. So I'll probably go to Matthews, and then are we doing Mount Rushmore top 5?
Yeah, we go top 5.
5. Okay, so 5, I guess you got to go Tiki and Rondé. I'm trying to think of what other brothers.
My honorable mention was Marquise and Mike Pouncey, but Mike ended up getting hurt.
I mean, they both had great careers while they were healthy. Marquise, most decorated center from my time in the league. I mean, every year he made a Pro Bowl, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Mike just had the hips, and it didn't last for him, but he was a great player as well. But I think from a star standpoint, Rondé and Tiki, and they had a similar thing where they didn't meet in the Super Bowl, but they were both on really, really good teams kind of at the same time. Yeah, so I'll probably go them.
To take it a step further, it's about the last name. It's about the Kelsey from Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
Yes.
Right? Do you ever have those moments where you just can sit back and think, like legacy and how you have an underdog in yourself, the hard work it took you to get to where you are. Travis going through those things, getting through the Cincinnati situation, going through the troubles, and now where he is in life.
Yeah.
Do you ever have moments where you just sit back and kind of take it all in, say, damn, we really changed our last name, just the legacy of it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I think about it, that I thought about it as much as a legacy, because that can change at any second, like regardless. But I don't think it's going to do. But
It's very rare.
yeah, I think of it more as like it's just crazy that 2 brothers that grew up in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, watch the Browns leave as an